Hello, my name is Sally Lunt and today I want to talk to you about another of my favourite numbers. We all know about banned books, but how many of us know about banned numbers? There is evidence of counting dating back to 35,000 years ago, and yet for centuries this number was either completely absent from counting systems or given place value status only. Although this number was first accepted as a number in its own right in India in the 7th century, it took a further 1,000 years before this number was widely accepted across the world. And it had a bumpy ride along the way. For example, in 1299, this number was actually banned in Florence because it was believed to encourage fraud. The number I'm talking about is, of course, 0. 0, I hear you say. How can that possibly be a favourite? It isn't even worth anything. Well, my love of 0 comes about as a result of the many juxtapositions associated with it. For example, 0 is worth nothing, and yet it is central to mathematics. Consider for a moment arithmetic without it. Think addition, subtraction, multiplication with Roman numerals. Not an appealing prospect. And now think about the symbol for 0. On the one hand, it is an empty hole. On the other, it is an unending circle. You might think that both interpretations it would be impossible for both interpretations to be applied to the same number, and yet they are both appropriate for 0. The former signifies its nothingness, and the latter is indicative of the infinite loop in which you would find yourself if you tried to divide by 0. Such a division can be seen in the simple function of y equals 1 over x. Consider for a moment how the y values shoot off unendingly upwards as x approaches 0 from the positive side. And then look at how the y values shoot off unendingly downwards as x approaches 0 from the negative side. For me, this evokes the image of Shakespeare's star-crossed lovers. The hopelessness of their situation is epitomised by the infinite loop in which the function finds itself. I have long sought to associate such narratives with functions, but that is a story for another day. Finally, and perhaps my favourite point about 0, is that it is the bringer of order and yet also of chaos. 0 paved the way for Leibniz and Newton in the 17th century to develop a brand new branch of mathematics, known today as calculus. Calculus is the stuff of dreams because it allows us to predict the future. Calculus is behind the growth models for COVID-19, and these have enabled us to understand and fight against this deadly virus. And yet, calculus essentially boils down to division by 0. So on the one hand, division by 0 in the traditional sense will land us in an infinite loop. And on the other hand, division by 0 as part of calculus allows us to understand the world around us. 0. We couldn't manage without it, and yet it is worthless. What a crazy and brilliant number.